So this is the result. Okay, so let me just highlight it here. This is an important result and you must remember it. Okay, so that was case number 1. Let's look at case number 2. Case number 2 is that your xn is real. Oh, sorry. Same page came. Yeah. So xn is real and circularly even. Circularly even. So let's look at both these conditions and write them separately. So if xn is real, then xn should be same as x conjugation n. This would mean that the function is real. And if the function is circularly even, then that means that xn should be same as x of modulo n minus n modulo capital N. Okay. So if I take dft here, I get capital XK, and this conjugation, using conjugation property, this becomes x capital minus Kn. Right? On this side, I evaluate dft and I get x minus Kn. Here this is the time reversal property, circular time reversal property I have applied. So now if you look at it, if you look at these, so let's look at what we are getting. If you look at this expression, then this tells us that xk is circularly even. And if you compare both the expressions, because on the left hand side there is xk, so I can also write that x minus kn is same as x conjugation minus kn. Or you could just write x m is same as x conjugation m. Just replace minus k modulo capital M by m. What does this tell you? What will this tell you?
Real.
What will this tell you? Okay, who was saying? What would this tell you?
So real.
This tells you that capital XK is real. So that means now you can say that capital XK is real plus circularly even. So this is the result. The result is that if xn is real and circularly even, its DFT is also real and circularly even. Okay, so this is result. Then let's look at the third case. The third case is that xn is real and circularly odd. So tell me what will be capital XK. So this is a problem for you. Now you can kind of try to figure out what would the fate of capital XK be. And I am going to ask, who should I ask? Let's see who all are actually here. Vikas, I'm waiting for an answer from you. Dhirendra, so Is Dhirendra there?
Yes, sir.
Dhirendra, इसको solve करो. I am asking you, if xn is real and circularly odd, what is going to be the fate of capital Xk? That is what I'm asking. हाँ आंसर बताओ. If xn is real, then that means that xn is same as x conjugation n. And if xn is circularly odd, it means that xn is same as x minus n modulo n. So if you take a DFT here, capital Xk becomes capital X conjugation minus Kn. This is what it becomes. On this side, it becomes Xk is equal to minus K so if you look at this, it tells you that this is circularly odd. Then if you compare both of them, you also come to the conclusion that xn minus k modulo n is negative of x minus k modulo n. So you can write x, capital Xm is minus capital X M. What does this tell you? This tells you
It's imaginary.
it's imaginary, that capital Xk is imaginary and circularly odd. That is the result. That is the result. So if if xn is real and circularly odd, then the DFT is imaginary and circularly odd. Let's go further and look at some other cases. Third and fourth. Okay, the fourth case is that xn is imaginary. Now we are leaving the real domain and we are coming to the cases where xn is going to be imaginary. Then what will happen? So if xn is imaginary, then xn must be same as minus x modulo minus x n. This is the imaginary case. So if we take DFT on both sides, capital Xk will be same as minus minus k by n. So that means that if xn is imaginary, then dft is going to be, because there is a conjugate sign here, so the word conjugate comes. And then if you remove this conjugation, then you see xk is minus x of minus k modulo n, that means anti-symmetric. So, if you remember when we were here, I said that if xn is real, then DFT is conjugate symmetric. If xn is imaginary, the DFT is conjugate antisymmetric. So if
So how did we say that this is antisymmetric?
because if you look at odd functions, then this would have been the case when a function is odd, and odd means antisymmetric because they go like this, right? There will be something like this and this.
Okay, sir.
Like that. So this would be odd or antisymmetric. So that means that if I put a conjugate sign here and I keep everything else the same, so the word conjugate antisymmetric comes. So that means that now your xk is going to be conjugate antisymmetric. Okay. Now let's go to another case. So now the case is that xn is imaginary. And it is circularly even. Then what will happen to capital X? That is the question. So solve it, and anybody can give me the answer, because some people will not solve it, some people are sleeping. So those who are awake and can solve it can give me the answer. And it will be a good practice as well. 2 minutes, I'm waiting for an answer from anyone. बताइए. कौन बोलेगा?
सर अभी सॉल्व कर रहे हैं.
अच्छा, टाइम लग रहा है, इतना लगना नहीं चाहिए वैसे. ठीक, maybe a minute or more, and then probably I'll tell.
So imaginary and odd.
Sir, conjugate, antisymmetric, and even.
Conjugate, antisymmetric, and even, you're saying. Okay. So conjugate antisymmetric means that it's basically imaginary. Okay, great. Thank you. So if xn is imaginary, क्या नाम है, मनाली थोड़ा सा गलत बोला, but just see, if xn is imaginary, that xn would be minus of x conjugate n, and if it is circularly even, then xn will be same as x. Sorry. it will be same as x minus n modulo n. So if you take the DFT on this side, then you get capital XK will be same as minus minus k modulo n, and if you take DFT this side, then you will get xk is equal to x minus kn. So if you look at this part, then that means it is circularly even. And then if you compare x minus kn is minus of x conjugate minus kn. I take this part, I take this, and I take this, and I compare them. So I can write that capital XM is same as minus capital X conjugate n. What does this mean? This means that xk is imaginary because if you remember xn was imaginary, so you had xn here, you had a negative sign here, you had xn conjugate. So capital X is here, m is here, minus capital X conjugate m, so that means it is imaginary. Capital X is imaginary. M is a dummy variable, I've just replaced m by k. And to write the total thing, then capital XK or the DFT is imaginary and circularly even. That's it. That's the result. So, knowing how to derive it quickly is going to give you an advantage of, maybe not mugging it up. And these are some important results. We'll do some numericals based on these. Okay. So, last case, and I think this is, if xn is imaginary, simple, should be simple now. If xn is imaginary and circularly odd, इसको solve करके देखो, बताओ, what will be the fate of the DFT?
Sir, real and circularly even.
Yeah, so you say it'll be not circularly even.
Circularly odd, sorry, circularly odd.
It'll be circularly odd, but it'll be real also. So let's look at it. So if xn is imaginary, then that means that x minus x conjugate n, that will be the case. If it is circularly odd, then it will be minus x minus n. This is what it will be. So if I take DFT on this side, I get capital XK as minus capital X conjugate minus Kn. Okay. Then if I take DFT on this side, then that is simply minus K modulo n. So if I look at this, I can say that they are circularly odd. DFT is circularly odd. Then if I compare this and I compare this, that's always the algorithm. You first write what is imaginary, you write it in the time domain. Circularly odd, you write it in the time domain. Using the properties, you write DFTs. This one you compare straight away, and then you compare these two. I've done exactly that in every derivation. And then if you come to this, then you will come to the fact that minus capital X minus K modulo n is minus conjugate minus K modulo n, which means that X minus K modulo n is same as X conjugate minus K modulo n. And this is a dummy variable, which means that X is same as X conjugate capital. That means that your XK is real and circularly. Odd. So this is the result. So we have looked into 6 cases that emerge from the conjugation property, that if xn is of a certain type, then what will be the DFT and what will be the type of DFT. So these are some, interesting things that, one can do. And there is one more thing that I would like to, say, is that x conjugate minus k by n is same as, x conjugate n minus k. So this is something that I would want you people to, in your leisure time or maybe sometime, try to derive yourself and see whether you get the same result or not. So this is something that you need to probably look into yourself. But I'm giving you this result. This is an important result. But I'm giving this to you. So try to do it yourself. Okay. We move further. I just want to finish all the properties so that we can then straight away, tomorrow we have 2 classes. So we can just, focus our attention on numericals and, pack DFT once and for all. Okay, so we go to the next property now. How was it? I was putting dots for properties. What I was doing? Yeah, okay. Okay, so the next property is what is called as duality. So duality says that if xn is capital XK, then duality means we replace. So we write what capital Xn would mean. It would mean n times x minus k modulo n. So I'm not deriving it. You'll find the derivations in any standard textbook, but I'm just writing the properties and you need to remember them. These are important properties. So this is the duality property, basically. Then comes an important thing, which is circular convolution. I'm tempted to solve problems for circular convolution right now, but I'll resist it because I just want to write down all the properties and we'll look at problems exclusively tomorrow in the 2 classes that we have. Circular convolution. And generally you hear the word convolution because the signals are kind of linear, but since in DFT the sequences remain between 0 to capital N minus 1, and that means that their length is capital N. Fundamentally, the word circular gets added in front of everything. So you can also say this is circular duality. You can, just say it that way. So basically, if you have 2 functions, you have xn, or sequences rather. If you have 2 sequences where x1n has a convolution capital X1k and x2n has a convolution capital X2k, then x3n, if is convolution of x1 and x2 circular convolution, then it is written like this. It is written xn. You remember this sign asterisk is of convolution, but because we're talking circular convolution, so we write a circle over it and then we write x2n. In some books, it is also written as x1n n x2n. So this word n is actually a notation for circular convolution. Okay, so you need to remember this. And And you must remember that xn is of n samples. x2n would also be of n samples. And your resultant x3n, which is a convolution of these two, circular convolution, then that will also be of n samples. Unlike linear convolution, where you used to be like, if the sequence 1 is of length capital N1 and if the sequence second is of length capital N2, then the total length is N1 plus N2 minus 1. But that doesn't happen here. It will be of n samples. And there's another important point. So this is an important point. There is another important point which says that if xn, x1n and x2n are of unequal length, then zero padding will be done on the shorter sequence to make it of equal length. As that of the other sequence. So this is something that you must remember. What I basically mean is, suppose I give you one x1n and I say that that is 1, 2, 2. And I give you an x2n which is 1 minus 2, 1, 3. And I say that you evaluate x2n convolution x1n. It is commutative, so you can just write it like this also. The same as x1n convolution x2. If I tell you to evaluate these two quantities, which means the same, this is equal to x3n. Then what you will do is that this has a length 3 right now, this has a length 4 right now. So then you will zero pad 1, 0 in x1, so that now the x1 is 1, 2, 2, 0, and your x2 is 1, minus 2, 1, 3. So now both of them have 4, and what you've done is that you've added this 0, which is zero padding. So you make them equal to the length of the larger or the longer sequence, and then you perform convolution. So now if you perform convolution, it will be same. The x3 would also be of the length of 4. The expression, of course, is written as summation m is equal to 0, n minus 1, x1m, x2, n minus n modulo n. So this is the expression that you'll have to evaluate to find xn. Okay, and here, of course, the n varies from 0 to n minus 1. If you take the convolution, if you take the DFT on both sides, then x3k is nothing but x1k multiplied by x2k. So this is similar to what we have studied in linear convolution, but evaluating it in time domain is slightly different because you have a modulo function here to solve rather than just the conventional shifting function. So this is basically a circular shift rather than a linear shift. So this is convolution. We'll do some numericals later on, but this is all that you need to know about circular convolution in terms of the property. Then Then we have some other properties. We have, okay, let me just add some more slides. So now let's look at circular correlation. So you're given some xn which has a DFT capital XK. You are given a yn which has a DFT capital XY. So circular convolution Rxyn, so this is in time domain, that is simply that is, just a second, that is n is equal to 0, n minus 1, xn, y conjugate n minus L. This is what it is. Or you can also write it as, yeah, this is basically how you write it. So if you see, then this actually looks quite like convolution, and this can be written as a convolution of xn, circular convolution of phi minus n. This is what it is. So if you take a DFT of this xyk, then that is simply equal to xk into y star k. So what I mean to say is that our XYL has a DFT pair which is so this is the result that you need to remember, and this is the result. Circular correlation. Then there is a multiplication property. And the multiplication property is as follows. If you have xn, which is capital XK, if you have x2n, which is capital X2k, then multiplication in time domain, so multiplication in time domain would mean circular convolution in frequency domain. Much like what we used to do in, when we studied linear convolutions. So this is what it is. Just a second. Hello. Good morning. If I'm not picking up the call and you call 3 times, obviously I'm doing something and I'm busy, right? So maybe I'll come back to you and I'll give you a call once I'm over with what I'm doing, right? So I'll give you a call in a while, right? Okay, bye. So, Parseval relation. Students have been calling, candidates have been calling, they're just done with the JOSA round. Today the list came out and they've started calling that we've got an admission in JNU, what to do next. So, and they keep calling, 5 calls, 6 calls, they don't stop. Anyways, Parseval relations. Okay, so this is like, you've studied this in signal systems also. This kind of relates the energy of the signal in time domain to frequency domain, or in this case DFT. So it'll be like that. So this is basically xn if is equal to capital Xk, and we have yn with a DFT capital Yk, then one can say that Parseval relation is 0 to n minus 1 xn yn. That will be equal to 1 upon n summation k equal to 0 n minus 1 capital Xk capital Y conjugate k. And if xn is same as yn, then this relation becomes equal to what you probably have seen, comes 1 upon n capital Xk mod square. So this is basically the the energy expression that we know of, because we say that xn square is a measure of energy. So, and if you divide it by capital N, it becomes a measure of power. Anyway, so this is basically the relation. You must remember it. Then just I'll take 5 more minutes and we'll finish the class. Important result. ये म्यूट कर जो भी है. वेट कर रहे हैं. कौन है? मुखिया म्यूट कर लो. अरे अनिल, anyways, okay, so some important results. Just take 5 more minutes and I'll be done. So if xn is equivalent to capital Xk, then the first result is that capital X0 is simply equal to xn 0 to n minus 1. These are some very simple results that you can just evaluate and get the value. I mean, I'll just solve this and you will realize how simple they are. So DFT is basically xn e to the power minus j 2 pi n kn, where n starts from 0 to n minus 1. So all you need to do is you need to put k equal to 0. So if you put k equal to 0, you will get summation n is equal to 0 xn. That is it. But these results are important when you have to find first value, last value, so on and so forth. So this is the first result. So the second result is capital Xk n by 2. So this, if you evaluate, it will come out to be 0 to n minus 1 minus 1 to the power n xn. This is the answer. You can just simply put the value of k as capital N by 2 and you will get this answer. Third is capital X0. That will become equal to 1 upon n summation n equal to 0. Sorry, not n. Now it will be k. N minus 1 capital Xk. So you can just write the standard definition of the inverse DFT and you will get this answer. And then of course you can write small x n by 2, that will be equal to 1 upon n summation k is equal to 0 n minus 1 minus 1 to the power k xk. Okay, so that means these are all the properties that we had to do. In the next class, which is going to be tomorrow morning, we will look into some of the DFT problems. So both classes will solve DFT problems, and probably will end the DFT chapter, and maybe I'll introduce a little bit of FFT, and then we'll proceed further. So if there are no questions, we can end the class.
सर मुकेश सर पढ़ाएंगे क्या डीएफटी के बाद से?
नहीं, मैं ही पढ़ा रहा हूँ अभी तो, मुकेश सर से अभी कुछ बात नहीं हुआ. FFT तक मैं कराऊंगा, फिर देखते हैं. Or maybe I'll continue. I'll just probably ask him, because there is a sequence in which we are doing things, and if just 1% will be good. But I'll ask him how to go about it. But we'll see. We'll see who does. Okay.
सर ट्राई करना कि आप ही पढ़ाओ. आई मीन वी कंफर्टेबल विद द वे.
Okay, fair enough. So I'll talk to him. I don't see that it'll be too much of a problem. So yeah, okay. Chalo, okay. Thank you. If there is no problem, we can just kind of break.